We're the Dolle family, and this is our adoption story.
So I think our adoption story probably started 20 years ago or so. We've been married almost 21 years and got married when I was still a teenager. So I think that's probably when God laid that on my heart was way back then.
Yeah, I felt like if God is calling you to adopt, then He's calling me to adopt. So yeah, I think I've always felt that, even way back in Tucson when we lived there, way before kids.
I don't think we ever really thought about how we would pursue that totally, and what realm, international, local, whatever it was. But then we realized, okay, we can adopt through foster care. And so God then shifted that, and that became our path. I think it was early 2016, we went to Christ Church for an informational meeting. I'm pretty sure AZ 127 was hosting it. And they had, a lot of booths with a lot of agencies, and that's how we were connected with Christian Family Care, again. And then we left that meeting, and I remember asking Ethan, like, what do you think the next step is? And he's like, I think we just continue. We just do the next thing. I'm like, okay. So then we just contacted the agency, or they contacted us. I think we left our number, and we just pursued that. Probably halfway through our licensing journey is when we had the surprise of our pregnancy, and so that was, of course, thrilling. We were totally stoked. Luke and Kate were also very excited, and then we lost that baby, and that was devastation that I can't put into words, honestly. Christmas Eve, right after we lost the baby, Kate was 7 at the time, and she was crying. She'd heard me crying earlier, and she was crying about the baby. Through her tears about the baby, she then she was already projecting future hurt, knowing that we were getting foster license, and she said, Mom, now I'm gonna have to say goodbye to a foster kid too. She was already projecting another future pain of a sibling loss. And so that was kind of our aha light bulb moment as parents to kind of, pull back on the reins a little bit, still continue in obedience to God. And it was a lot of work. We weren't gonna just give up and just throw all that work away too, but we still felt called to continue our foster license. And so we did. And but it needed to look different. Our path just needed to look different for a little while we were grieving and while we were allowing our biological children to grieve. And so about 5 months later, we were officially licensed after that night with Kate. And so we did respite for, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. I guess I could have looked at a calendar, but we did respite for about 2 years.
We switched the licensing from foster to respite, right? That was...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so respite is, where you just take a foster kiddo for a night or the weekend or a few hours even, or, and give those foster parents a break. And so we did that. We had a couple kiddos. I'm always imagining them being mine. Imagine all the children being mine. But
it was a way that we could use our license to bless another family, I guess. So, give them a break, and we would still be able to keep our license up and not have that active, and not have it lapse or anything like that. So
right.
But still continuing in that path of adoption, how God has called us. It just looked a little different. So
we knew it was gonna come about again. We just didn't know when or how. And so both of our children actually had said, we're ready for another kid, especially Kate. Again, through tears. Isn't it amazing how God speaks to us through our children? And so, yeah, so...
I think it was because of the respite kids that we had watched.
Because we fell in love with all of them,
taking care of them. There was
Yeah.
one in particular that I think Kate really latched onto.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that kind of spurred something inside of her to continue with it. So
yeah. Actually, we did tell our agency we're ready to go to full-time foster care. We did tell them that. And no time was wasted on, I don't remember the time frame, but it wasn't long. And then standing in my classroom on February 6th, I received a text from February 6th this year, 2020, I received a text from our agency saying, hey, there's a 4-month-old baby. I didn't even know his name. She didn't even tell me his name. There's a 4-month-old baby. Would you consider being his adoptive parents? And I'm standing in the middle of my classroom. I show my text to my student teacher. I'm like, okay, forward it to Ethan. And then I went about my teaching day, and they needed to know right away. DCS was already looking at another family, and our agency really wanted us to be of serious consideration. And so we basically had the weekend. And so
intense prayer, I guess, was how we started that. And I just asked God, speak to me somehow, just speak to me, let me hear your voice. And I was doing my regular devotional.
Just
and this
regular reading for the day, nothing
he was
seeking.
In Matthew 19, starts in verse 13. Then some children were brought to him so that he might lay his hands on them and pray. And the disciples rebuked them, but Jesus said, let the children alone and do not hinder them from coming to me, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. So, I don't know, I think that was maybe the first time in my life that I actually heard, it was almost audible. It was kind of crazy, but God was just saying, yeah, take him in. So, and I can remember where I was, and tears just started coming to my eyes. So, yeah, very cool.
Really cool. And since that's in Matthew, that's Gage's middle name. We gave him the middle name Matthew because we thought that was like a really cool legacy that he can just carry with him, that, just always have with him. So that was really neat. So then I couldn't even wait till Monday. And I, have the cell phone of our agent, and I'm like, so excited, yes, from us. We want the baby. I still don't think we knew his name was Gage, and we'd never seen a picture. But I already loved him, and then Monday, not even 48 hours later, we got the text. I'm so sorry, DCS was going to go with the other family they were already considering. And so, tears again, and oh man, and I kind of had a weird piece about it though, something's going to work out with this, yeah. And I think I did too in a way, because I remember texting our agency and saying, because again, the system is a roller coaster ride. And so I texted her, I'm like, will you let them know that if something does change the other family, that we're still a yes? And so then on February 25th, just a couple weeks later, my dad's birthday, again, while at school in my classroom, I get this text from our agent that's like, the other family fell through. And I told DCS that yes, you were still interested. I was like, so cool. I remember where I was. Okay, great. So that's February 25th. And then we had some visits with his current foster parents, who are an amazing couple. They live in Prescott Valley. They have been advocates for babies, over 70 babies in about 17 years. It's an amazing ministry they're doing. I'm so grateful for them, Gage went to them at 3 days old. So they had him from 3 days old until he came to us. And so he came to us for a couple of visits, and they drove up here and did that. And he moved in March 7th. So from the time our initial text was February 6th, 30 days later, he moved in March 7th. It was amazing. It was a roller coaster ride, but it was amazing. He connected with us right away, and the foster parents made mention of that they could just see it, and
the kids fell in love with him right away.
Yeah, so, yeah. He was their baby brother. In fact, Luke told us once, I don't think of Gage as my foster brother. He's my brother. And I was like, that's cool. I'm glad. Fast forward, October 21st, which is 7.5 months, is when we got to legally adopt him, which was so exciting. There's really no explanation of the joy, right when in the courtroom, right when it was done. I looked at the attorney and I was like, so he's a Dolle the second? Like, he's like, yes. I'm like, that's awesome. Good. And so Gage's onesie, it says, wanted, chosen, adopted, loved. And that's, again, can't explain the joy, how I feel or how we feel being adopted into God's kingdom. There's just no words. And so, so our journey has been much different than we thought it would be when we first stepped out to take it. But we see His hand in the details, and we're grateful beyond words. And to see God bring things to fruition that we know He's been weaving this for so many years. You know, even in our our biological children's hearts. We've had this the conversation for years with them. They just always have known that this was going to be part of our story, our family story. So.
And it might not be done.
I know, maybe not. We'll see. So that's also something like, you know, we just got to live with our hands like this. Like, so often I want to even have it curled up a little bit to be like my way, and we just have to just open our hands up to what He has, because we'd miss out. We wouldn't get to have our little boy. And that's not a reflection on us at all, because it was hard, and it's been a rough journey, but it's also been a really cool journey to see Him put things together with the adoption, and for it to go really smoothly, and for the peace that He's given, and we've seen His hand in the hard and in the journey. So all glory to Him for sure, because we wouldn't be sitting here telling the story if it wasn't. It's His story, really.